In New York City, Eddie is attempting to retrieve his van from the repair shop, but even putting up all of his rent money still isn't enough to cover the cost. Right then, he receives a call from his daughter Sarah, but he ignores it so he can keep arguing with the mechanic. Eddie explains that he needs the van to pick up his daughter and to work making deliveries, but the mechanic remains unmoved. Soon after, Eddie gets a call from his ex, who shouts at him for not picking up Sarah, who's still waiting at school. She tells him he never puts his daughter first and then hangs up. Growing desperate, Eddie spots an employee's wallet sitting on a table. He provokes the owner until he's shoved against it, giving him the chance to swipe the wallet without anyone noticing. After leaving, he checks inside and is disappointed to find there isn't much money. When he reaches the main avenue, he scans the area for possible targets but sees nothing left unattended. He starts pulling on car door handles, hoping to find one unlocked, but has no luck. One of the cars has a barking dog that startles him, though Eddie quickly befriends it and even gives it some water. He also calls his friends to ask for money, but no one helps. Buying lottery tickets doesn't help either since none of them win. The next time Sarah calls, Eddie answers and has to listen as she complains about him abandoning her, though she still tells him she loves him. After the call ends, Eddie notices a very expensive SUV parked in a remote lot and checks the door. To his surprise, it's unlocked. He quickly gets inside and begins searching for anything valuable, but only finds sunglasses. When someone walks past, he turns away to hide his face. With nothing worth stealing, Eddie prepares to leave, only to realize the door has shut on its own and is now locked. He panics, trying the other doors and pushing them, but none will budge. When another person passes by, he hides again. He then tries punching and kicking the windows, but they don't even crack. Suddenly, a tablet on the dashboard begins ringing with a call from a contact labeled "Answer Me." Eddie ignores it and keeps looking for a way out, unaware that someone is watching him through a hidden camera inside the vehicle. Eventually, he finds a lug wrench in a compartment and strikes the window with it, but that doesn't work either. As the tablet stops ringing, Eddie breaks the panel on the door and sticks his hand inside, only to accidentally injure his arm on a piece of metal. Soon, the tablet starts ringing again, and Eddie keeps ignoring it while removing the panel, which still doesn't open the door. He then tries using his phone, but there's no signal. With no other choice left, Eddie finally answers the call and meets William, the owner of the vehicle. Eddie insults him and demands to be let out, but William only laughs and shocks him through the seats as punishment. William explains that his car has been broken into 6 times without a single arrest, so he installed a custom security system that turns the vehicle into a prison. Panicking, Eddie pulls a gun from his bag and fires at the window, but the bullet ricochets off the bulletproof glass and hits his leg, leaving him badly injured. At that moment, a woman parks nearby and Eddie tries to ask for help, but the windows are tinted and soundproof, so she just uses them as a mirror and walks away. Eddie's leg is bleeding heavily, yet William refuses to call an ambulance, claiming he's a doctor himself. When Eddie tries his phone again, it still doesn't work, and William explains that the car is blocking all signals. Wrapping his shoelaces around his leg isn't enough to stop the bleeding, and William keeps shocking him every time he swears, so the mix of blood loss and electricity causes Eddie to pass out. By the time he wakes up, it's nighttime and raining. To Eddie's surprise, both his leg and arm injuries have been bandaged. He checks his bag for something to eat or drink, but both his water bottle and snack bag are empty. The next morning, William calls again and tries to tell a story about his life, which causes Eddie to snap. William shocks him again before turning on the air conditioning and blasting yodeling music. At first, Eddie says the song is fine, but it keeps playing for hours and drives him completely insane. That night, he's so cold that he uses the seat covers as a blanket. When William calls, Eddie offers a genuine apology and promises not to be rude again. Without saying anything, William turns off the air conditioning but still refuses to let him go. The next morning, Eddie pees into the empty water bottle before he starts wrecking the car, hoping to find a way out, but nothing works. When William calls to taunt him, Eddie notices someone watching the parking lot from a balcony. They begin talking, and when Eddie gets sarcastic, he gets shocked again. That doesn't stop him from pointing out that if William lets him die, he'll get into serious trouble. Eddie explains that he's never killed anyone and that his gun is only for protection. But William doesn't care and believes the police are useless idiots, so he's convinced he won't get caught. William also reveals that he has cancer and only 4 months left to live, which is why he wants to make a difference. Since the system clearly doesn't work, he thinks it's up to him to deliver justice. He asks Eddie for his social security number because he wants to look into his record. If this is Eddie's first offense, he'll go easier on him, but if he has a criminal past, he'll cut off Eddie's fingers like they supposedly do to thieves in some countries. Eddie refuses to give him the number and argues that people are pushed into stealing because the system has failed to provide them with jobs, while wealthy people like William hoard all the money. Offended, William shocks him again and ends the call before restarting the music. By evening, the temperature inside the car starts to rise, and Eddie has to strip down to handle the unbearable heat. He feels like the rain outside is mocking him, and he even considers drinking his own urine, but he can't bring himself to do it. William calls to offer him water and a normal temperature in exchange for his social security number, and Eddie has no choice but to accept the deal. Once William gets the number, he turns off the heat and reveals that he hid a water bottle under the seat when he came earlier to treat his prisoner's wounds. After drinking the entire bottle at once, Eddie tries to fall asleep, but something in his jacket pocket is bothering him. It's the lottery tickets he bought earlier, and there's one he hasn't finished scratching yet. He scratches it now and can't help laughing when he realizes he's won the money he needed. William calls again to find out what's going on, and Eddie begs for food while sincerely apologizing for his crime with a surprisingly sweet speech. Deciding that Eddie isn't a psychopath, William opens the glove compartment to reveal a snack. Eddie immediately grabs it and notices a switch inside before it shuts again. William hangs up after receiving another call, but Eddie can still hear his voice through the speakers, and the conversation confirms that William is a doctor. Then the man announces he has to leave. Eddie notices the figure on the balcony moving, which means that's his captor. Once William steps away from the balcony, Eddie raises his middle finger toward the camera and gets no response, which means William isn't watching him anymore. Eddie then breaks open the glove compartment and takes a picture of the circuits inside so he can figure out what he's dealing with. He reaches his arm in and tries to get to the switch but ends up painfully breaking his nail in the process. When he tries again, the seats start shocking him because William has returned and seen him. The next day, Eddie stays in the front seat pretending to rest, but he has his foot inside the glove compartment trying to reach the switch. Another day goes by, and his body grows so weak that he has no choice but to drink his own urine. That night, Eddie's foot finally manages to reach the switch and turn on the car's power. He quickly jumps into the driver's seat and takes off, but the car stops after just a few minutes. William calls to mock him, and the car starts moving again, but this time the owner is controlling it remotely. As the car drives through the streets, William plays classical music while pointing out that everyone lives in fear because crime has taken over New York. Eddie panics when the car begins speeding dangerously fast, and it eventually stops in a dark alley where two criminals are beating up a man. William turns on the headlights and honks the horn, catching the attention of a thug who lifts his shirt to show he has a gun. The car accelerates and runs the guy over while William laughs. The second thug runs in fear while firing behind him, but the bullets do nothing against the bulletproof glass. A chase follows and the criminal makes a sharp turn to try to escape, only to find the street blocked by a gate. William makes the car go even faster and slams it into the gate to hit the man. When the thug tries to stand, the car keeps pushing until he's badly injured and bleeding. After a lot of yelling, Eddie convinces William to stop and the car backs up, but William is only mocking him and moves it again to crush the man's skull. A furious Eddie starts shouting all kinds of insults, so William blasts loud music while sending the car speeding through the streets again. It's going extremely fast and barely avoids other incoming vehicles. It enters a parking structure and races up the ramps until it reaches the roof, where it speeds up even more to shake Eddie. He freaks out when he sees the car heading toward the edge, but it stops at the last second, causing Eddie to hit his head and pass out. In the morning, Eddie wakes up inside the car, which is still driving through the city. William reveals he visited Eddie's family and even took Sarah to school by pretending to work for a non-profit organization. While William scolds Eddie for owing his ex alimony, the car stops in front of the school, and Eddie is horrified to see Sarah coming out. She walks home alone, and the car begins following her, even passing right beside her as if trying to kill her. Sarah notices the car coming after her again and starts riding faster on her scooter while Eddie cries and apologizes with every kind word he can think of. That still isn't enough for William, who makes the car speed up. Desperate to stop this, Eddie grabs his gun and tries to end his own life, but it has no bullets. William makes the car dodge Sarah at the last moment and explains that he took the bullets when he stitched Eddie up. For the rest of the day, Eddie stays silent while William continues ranting about the system. When night comes, Eddie finally snaps. He rips out all the cameras and kicks the tablet until it breaks. I should have died! The car still won't stop, so Eddie looks at pictures of Sarah on his phone.
I really hope that you get this. I'm sorry. I'm no good. I kind of thought that you'd be better off if I wasn't.
And records a heartfelt message for her, apologizing for not being a good father. Unfortunately, he can't send it because the car is still jamming the signal. Moments later, the vehicle stops at a different parking lot, and William lowers the window to greet him. Eddie panics and tries to attack, but William keeps shocking him until he calms down. After spraying some perfume to deal with the smell of Eddie's poop, William hands him zip ties and tells him to bind his wrists. At first, Eddie refuses, but he's forced to obey after William shocks him again. Once Eddie's hands are tied to a hook inside the car, William gets in and leaves a bag in the back seat. After putting the bullets back into the gun, William allows Eddie to have a cigarette and drops some gummy bears for him to eat.
Try them. Off they go.
Then he turns on the classical music and drives off. During the trip, Eddie keeps asking questions about William's daughter, causing him to stop the car multiple times just to make Eddie hit his head on the dashboard. William launches into a rant about the new generation and reveals that his daughter was killed by thieves who tried to steal his car. He even presses his gun against Eddie's head as they begin arguing about what justice really means. While this is happening, Eddie keeps his foot inside the glove compartment until he manages to press the switch, shutting off the power. The car loses control and falls off the edge of a cliff, causing Eddie to break his nose on the dashboard. William accidentally fires the gun, and the bullet ricochets off several windows before hitting him from behind. After rolling down the cliff, the car stops near a river, and both men fall unconscious. In the morning, the phone sends the message because the jamming system is no longer working. Eddie wakes up first and begins struggling with the zip ties. He manages to break free at the same moment William wakes up, and a fight breaks out. With all his built-up rage, Eddie beats William and gets the gun ready to shoot. But at that moment, his phone starts ringing with a call from Sarah. William tells him to answer, and Eddie hears Sarah say she's very worried because she heard his message. Eddie assures her that he's fine and promises to pick her up later. Suddenly, the car engine catches fire, and Eddie asks William to open the doors. But William says it was fun and dies. Eddie then checks William's bag and finds a hammer that's strong enough to finally break a window. Eddie manages to get out of the car just before the flames reach the rest of the vehicle. He walks away with his winning lottery ticket, leaving William's body behind as it burns. When he reaches the road, a driver sees him bleeding and immediately offers him a ride. Moments later, Eddie goes to pick up the van, but the mechanic is still finishing the repairs. Not wanting to be late, Eddie decides to sell it to him instead and gets a bicycle, which he rides to the school. He reunites with Sarah with a very tight hug. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to support the channel. Thank you for watching.